any project, I don't care what it is. I don't care if you're building a bookcase, you're building a clock, you're building a step stool, squaring the board or squaring the stock is always going to be like part of the first things that you're going to do, okay? Now, you may not have to glue up pieces like I did last time, okay? Last time I showed you how to glue up some oak. Remember, we planed it. I needed to come up with a size that was at least 9 by 9. And right now these are sitting at about 10 by 10 because I made them 1 inch bigger for my rough size, okay? All right? So, squaring the board. What we're going to do, there is a kind of a sequence, okay? Look at number 3. Number 3 says plane 1 edge, best edge on all boards. That is step number 1 in basically squaring a board, okay? So, and if there's, this is really important. I want you to get this fixed in your mind, okay? Does everybody understand what edge, face, and end means with lumber? Does everybody understand that? What would this be? This face. This is a face. This is the other face, okay? What would this be right here with the grain? What would that be? Edge. Okay, we got 2 edges, 2 faces, and then the easy one. What's that, Jamie? Well, the grain, it's at the what? What kind of grain is that, guys? End grain. End grain. Okay, when you've sanded wood, what's the hardest to sand? End grain. End grain is really hard to sand. It's much more resistant to abrasion. The edge sands pretty easy. The face sands pretty easy, but the end grain is much harder. And when you turned things on a lathe, now you guys probably didn't turn end grain when you were doing a pen, but if you're doing a bowl, you have to turn end grain. You'll find out that it wants to chip out because it's much harder, okay? All right, so first thing we do is plane an edge, okay? What's the next thing? Step number 4 says, rip all boards to correct width. Okay, so we would plane the best edge. We'd rip it on the table saw. Now, when we say ripping, Tyler, is that with the grain or across the grain? With the grain. Ripping is with the grain. That's another term you've got to know. Okay, cross-cutting is cross-cut across the grain. Ripping is with the grain. And you got to do these in order. Okay? All right. Number 5 says cross-cut best end square all boards. So you're just going to cross-cut one end as close to the end as you can to get it to make sure it's square. And then finally, you cross-cut all boards to the correct length. And it says use a clearance block if possible. Who knows what a clearance block is? Mark, I bet you know what a clearance block is. Okay, if we have to cut a whole bunch of boards on the sliding miter saw to the same exact length, what's an easy way to do that?
Stack them up.
Yeah, not stack them up. Mark?
You measure it out and then like you screw a piece of wood down where the measurement is so you can just set it up against there each time and know that the measurement is correct.
Okay, very good. He's right. He said you measure the first one out. Then he said you screw a block, a scrap piece of wood. Okay, but instead of screwing it, we'll probably clamp it. We'll clamp a block of wood over there so that all we got to do to get 9" every time, we bring that up against that stop block and cross-cut it to final length. Okay? All right, now, because I glued these a little bit, I've got 3 pieces of wood here, and I've got a narrow piece in the middle of all of these. Would it be a good idea to like alternate where where that piece is in my layers? Would that be a good idea to alternate that? It would. Okay? Listen to what I'm saying. So instead of gluing these three, when my clock is all done, these are going to be glued together, right? Okay? It'd be best if I could offset that little glue joint just a little bit, okay? So that we don't have that joint on top of the next one, okay? So it'd be a really good idea to offset where those are edge glued. It's going to make it a lot stronger, okay? So when I plane this, I'm going to keep that in mind because I'm going to plane one edge. I'm not going to have that right in the middle. It's going to be offset on each board, okay? All right, so what tools are we going to need?
Safety glasses.
Got to have safety glasses. What else? Ear protection, possibly. What else? Well, we need the sliding miter saw. What machines do we need? Plane one edge. What do we need for that? Joiner. Okay, joiner. And then we're going to rip it to width. What are we going to use for that, Ernesto? Ripping with the grain. What machine do we use? The table saw.
You
Okay.
guys forget all this from construction 1?
The table saw.
Oh my gosh.
And then to cross cut it to length, Tyler, what are we going to use? What machine? No, no. All right, get out a pencil. We're going to write this down.
My God, you guys.
We're
This
gonna
is all
write this
stuff you should
down.
know.
Okay. Number 3. Write this down. Get a pencil out quickly. Number 3, plane one edge. It doesn't say which machine. Which one are we using, Seth?
Planer.
Jointer. It's not the
Edge.
planer.
It says edge.
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 This is an edge. This is an edge. We use the jointer to plane an edge.
I think what's confusing them is that you're saying plane, and so they instantly think planer.
Yeah,
I was thinking of
yeah. Well, you're planing, but you're
Yeah.
planing the edge
Edge.
on the jointer. Planing is a verb. Okay?
Yep.
It is a verb, just like sawing is a verb.
It's just how they always go on the lathe and they say, I'm lathing. I said, no, you're turning.
Yeah. Okay, so number 3 is the jointer. We're planing one edge, and I understand where you got confused on that, okay? Number 4, rip all boards to correct width. What machine? Table saw. Okay? Number 5, cross cut best end square all boards. What machine?
Cross cut. Say it again.
Nope. Sliding miter saw for number 5. And you're just doing one end as close as you can to get a nice square cut. Okay? And then finally, number 6, cross cut all boards to correct length. Use a clearance block if possible. What machine? Sliding miter saw. Good. Okay? Okay, we got the machines. What tools do I need to do this properly? How about a measuring device? Okay. Now, guys, I got to tell you, I do not like these. I do not like these aluminum rules. Okay? The ends are soft metal. They're deformed. They're hard to measure with, I think. The letters and the lines have rubbed off some. Okay, and those are just painted on. Now, this is what tool is this? Steel rule. These actually are, they etched or engraved those lines on there. Okay, this is much more accurate. So use a steel rule, or you can also use, if you want, tape measure. Okay? tape measure. Now, a while ago, we talked about, I think with this class, a long time ago, you know how these tape measures always have a loose end, right? Why do they have a loose end? Should we try to tighten that up? Why not, Brian? You are right. I did talk about this a while ago. Okay, if I'm measuring a board like this, I pull that end should move about 1/16 of an inch because this piece of metal is about 1/16 of an inch thick. Okay, so when I measure the outside measurement, I pull this. Okay, this one is at 10 inches. If I was measuring something that was an inside measurement, such as, let's say we have this door frame, and let's say that we wanted to measure that inside measurement, okay, then that end pushes in and it gives me an accurate measurement. So those ends should be loose, okay? And by the way, anytime you use a tape measure, don't let it slam shut, right? Because it breaks the spring inside there, okay? Okay, let's go over to the what machine? I'm ready to square my board. So what's the first step?
Bandsaw.
Joiner. We're not going to use a bandsaw ever to square a board, guys. It doesn't do an accurate enough cut. So come on over. Okay, so that locks the slide. This lever, guys, listen up. This lever locks the tilting table, okay? And again, there's lock stops at 45, at 31.6, at 15. I think there's one at 22.5. All of these are common angles that you would need as a finished carpenter to do like crown molding and things like that. We're going to go ahead and it seems to be off just a hair, although when I check it with this, it looks pretty good. But that first one was a little bit off.
You want me to, would that affect it back there?
No, I don't think so. Okay, now this one's going to be a little bit harder. Now I have to cut, so that it hits that middle piece. So I'll line it up with the middle piece. Again, mark it. Looks pretty good there. And then my last piece. Okay. Seth, am I done squaring the boards?
No.
Why not?
Squared the two of the ends on.
Okay. I squared one end, but I got to do, like you said, two ends. Now, these are the ones that I've already cut, so remember you're going to be measuring from that end. And we're going to go 9 inches exactly. And we're going to go ahead and draw a line. Now, I'm going to check this. I'm going to measure twice and cut once. So I'm going to check that. It's a little short. That one was a little bit off, okay? Measure twice, cut once. Let's try that again. You know, for me, it's easiest, guys, if I don't measure at the end of the ruler. So what I'm doing here is I'm putting the 10 on my end,
Burn an inch.
and then, yep, and then I'm marking it right here with the 1 mark. It's a little bit more accurate to do it. Make sure also when you measure this, guys, make sure that you're looking straight across the rule. Okay, if your head's over here and you're trying to draw a line, you can't do that. All right, so there's 9 inches. Should be good. Okay. Now, it depends on which side of the line you're going to be cutting on, right? This is one way to do it. Okay? Another way to do it would have been to do it like this, mark it off on this side. That way, what would be the advantage to doing it this way, guys? Same edge is against the fence both times. Okay? It shouldn't matter because we should have these two edges totally parallel. But I certainly don't like doing this. That's kind of scary for me because I'm not a left-handed person. So go ahead and just turn it around like this. On my next one, I'll probably flip it over and mark it on the other side, okay? Line that up so the tooth is right next to the line, but not cutting on the line. Okay, so my line is still on there. I think what it is that thing might be a little bent. Okay, we're good there. This one I'm going to flip over. This has got the mark on it. I'm going to measure it 9 inches here. And I guess I could show how to do the stop block too. Let's do that. Grab me a C-clamp, like a pretty good sized C-clamp. All right, guys, here we go. So, I'm going to go ahead and first step in squaring the board is what, Jackson? Huh? You guys need to know this. First step in squaring the board is joint one edge. Joint the best edge. Okay, dust collector. You guys gotta know this. Turn this one on.
Mr. Deason, I have a question. Can you ever run end grain on a jointer?
You're getting ahead of me.
No.
Okay, never, ever in your, not if your life depended on it. Do not run end grain across a jointer. Okay, it'll chip. It'll
tear
chip
it
the
up.
wood out. It'll tear it up. Okay. You don't run end grain on a jointer. Okay. Just like you don't run a wood across the grain on a planer. You only run it with the grain. You only run it with the grain here as well. Okay? Okay, why did I put an X on those edges? So I know which edge I just ran through the jointer. Okay, next step for squaring a board. What is it? Nope. Guys, we just went over this. No, you do not use a bandsaw ever to square
You said that
a
on
board.
purpose, didn't you?
Never. Do not use a bandsaw to square a board. Table saw. And what operation are we doing?
Squaring a board.
Ripping to width. Ripping to exact width. Okay, let's go over the table saw.
You guys scare me immensely. That's
We're going to
bad.
practice. We're going to make a song for squaring the board.
I know. We got to come up with some device for them to remember this.
Okay,
We'll
what is my finished width on my clock?
9 by 9.
9 inches. Okay.
I was just thinking we should have you do a rap song.
Yeah.
We'll put it on video, put it on YouTube so we'll remember.
Jamie, grab me a tri-square. Grab a tri-square real quick.
I never want to see him in a rap video.
So,
you remember
no,
it.
guys, really, you've got to understand this. This is like fundamental on squaring a board. Plane one edge, rip to width, cross cut the best end, and then finish cut the end cross cut. Okay, you got to know that. Okay,
What's he doing?
I'm not measuring how high the blade is. No.
See if the blade's 90 degrees because the blade can be tilted.
Okay, I'm checking to make sure the blade is square, because if the blade is not square, it's not going to give me a 90-degree edge. Okay, so make sure you check it. Looks good. Okay. Now, again, this is accurate. I've got it set to 9. I'm going to go actually about just a hair over 9 to allow for sanding. Just a hair, like a 32nd of an inch over. Okay, which would be half of a 16th. Okay. Now, which edge do I want to put against here, Matt? This one or this one?
Oh my God.
The edge the one that you didn't join.
The one I marked! The one that I just marked that I put an X on, said I ran that through the joiner.
Didn't you run both sides through it?
What?
Didn't you run both sides through it?
No, I ran one edge on each.
He's missed like 4 days.
Oh, never back out. Whoa,
Check
it's
how high
okay.
that blade was.
that's not okay.
Okay, what did I forget?
To check how high the blade was.
Yeah.
Check how high the blade is. Is the blade good?
Yeah.
1/8 of an inch above? Okay.
Can you turn on the vacuum? Thanks.
Yeah, we're good.
Actually, let me turn it off. Aren't your X's supposed to be that way? Stop. Okay, now somebody said you should never back out.
I did,
Who said that? Why?
because it could kick back. Just
Looks like cold joints. Get in the nuts.
Well, we talk about never backing out of a bandsaw, but as far as backing out of a table saw, now if you get back here to where the wood is on these, it's not going anywhere. It's not going to back up. But it's okay to back up, okay? So what's wrong with that, Mark?
What?
How I have the board.
I already told you.
Tell the class.
Oh, your X's aren't against the stop.
Oh, the X's aren't against the fence.
Doesn't look like
Okay, all right. Let's just leave it off.
All right.
We'll leave the dust collector off. It's not going to cause very much. Now, on this one, yeah, I forgot to mark it. Remember I talked about this? What is that? What's that called? It's bark. What's it called? It was the edge of the log or the tree, and it's called wane. Wane. Gee, wasn't that Monday that we talked about that?
Yeah.
And nobody could remember Wayne.
No.
Wayne, John Wayne.
They remember John
Are you
Wayne.
guys killing brain cells like on evenings after this class?
House Sharpies.
Okay, so guys, on
White out.
this, would it be better to cut the wane off or not?
Yeah.
It would. So I didn't mark this one. I did plane this edge. So I'm going to cut the wane off.
Wait, those are just
Should have that there, piece of wood.
It doesn't matter. No. Okay, that's a great question. Why didn't I take that scrap piece out?
Your fingers would have been too close to the blade.
I would have had to shut the machine off. There was really no reason to. Leave that scrap there. When you go to push your next piece through, it's going to move it out of the way. Okay? Especially if it's behind the blade. Now, if you get one, generally it's not a problem. And I've seen, there's been a lot of accidents where people have reached in to get that scrap piece out. Okay? If you absolutely feel you need to get that out, you need to probably go ahead and shut the machine off. Don't try to move it while it's running, even with a push stick, okay? Because you wiggle a little bit, it is going to be shooting back. Okay, these pieces I paid for. As remember when I measured the wood that I had? Okay, they're my pieces of wood. It's oak. We could probably save those, use them for something. You know, we could maybe make pins out of them or whatever. Okay, next step for squaring a board. Sliding miter saw and do what? Cross cut the best in square. Okay, let's go over to the sliding miter saw. Yep. Hurry.
punch in the face. Come on, wine and dine. That's not giving you permission to try it.
Okay, so guys, I've got a whole inch to work with here, but I want to do the best end. These, it really doesn't matter too much. Okay, I'm going to lose about an inch. That's not very square there. Really doesn't matter which one you do, but the key here, guys, is just to just skim as close to the end as you can. You also need to keep track of which end that you squared, right? So how can I do that? Mark it with an X. Can't really see up close here, but when I started out, I was good. I was on the wood. By the time I got to the end, the blade was not touching totally. So when I look down this, it goes real straight and then there's a little bit of an angle. So I got to cut it a little bit closer. Also, make sure there's no sawdust up against the fence. If there's even one little bit of sawdust, that's going to throw the board off square. Okay?
Do they want to check square on the blade?
It's a good idea to do that.
Ow.
Looks pretty good. Usually what I'll do is I'll make one cut and then I'll check the board to see if it is square. Since we have a little bit of room to work with on this. Okay, so let's do this one again. Okay, so guys, we're just going to check this. It's a little bit off. It's pretty close. This side goes off a little bit.
Oh, yes. Cool.
Here again, guys, you get a little bit of chipping on those corners. This is on the stop, right? This is another thing you guys, a lot of you don't understand. This knob locks the slide. You see that? If you come over here and this thing doesn't want to move, this is the lock knob on that. Okay? Alright? Little setup time. Here's a stop block. Okay? We'll find a better piece of wood. This is probably not a great piece because we should have something that's flat. But there's also this clamp right here that's got that end. We've got this set up so that when I bring that against the stop block, that is set exactly where we cut that other piece, and it is 9 inches. So now, all I have to do, I got the X, so that goes against the stop block, and then go ahead and cut this piece. Still make sure though, guys, it's against the fence. This end is not totally square. It should be, but make sure you go against the fence. Should be good. Okay, exact. When you're using a stop block, this thing is trapped in between that and the blade. Do not try to move this at all while that blade's moving. You should never try that anyway. But if you go to pull this and it gets a little sideways in there, it's just like having a piece of wood between the blade and the fence that, trying to cross-cut, which it'll jam up against there. It'll bind up in there, okay? So you want to be really careful of that, okay? So, we have our 3 pieces. They are all the same length. Yes. Not right now. Not a good time, Matt. Can you just wait till I finish the demo? I'm almost done.
There's clamps over there you can use.
Okay. Matt, what's the first step squaring a board? And we're doing what?
Square. Not the end grain.
Planing the best
Edge.
edge. What's next? Austin.
Next, you take the other side, cut the other side off.
Okay, guys, use the right terminology. What are we doing? Are we cutting with the grain or against the grain? With the grain. What do we call that?
I just said rip it to.
Rip it to the correct width. Okay, what do we do next, Jackson?
To the width.
No, we already did that. He said that. Are you paying attention?
So
Is there anybody in there?
about half.
Lights are on, but nobody's home. Ernesto, what's next? What?
Miter saw.
Sliding miter saw. And we do what? Which? What? The best end. Okay, and then last we do what? Dylan. What do we do last? What? What did I do? Come on.
Made it equal.
I cut what? Did I rip? Did I cross cut? Cross cut.
Yeah.
Cross cut. What?
The size.
The end.
Yeah.
We don't have sides. We have ends. We have edges. We have faces. There are no sides in this. You got to know the terminology, folks. You got to know it. Okay? So the last step is basically trimming, cross-cutting the end to the exact length with the sliding miter saw. Okay.
Quiz.
Quiz. There will be a quiz on Friday over that.
What?
How the steps to squaring a
You guys couldn't
board.
answer it. You couldn't answer it.
Okay, you guys, today, go ahead and get a planning sheet. Start filling it out. Pick out your wood. Go to work. So guys, I went over there. This is just a piece of teak. Okay, and we can use this for a stop block. Big thing though, guys, on a stop block is you want to make sure. It's pretty warped.
Make sure it's not warped.
That'll work. You want to make sure that this end is square. So go ahead and square up the end, just like we did. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to set that piece that I cut that we know is 9 inches, and I'm going to stick my stop block in here. And then the reason with this table, we're going to clamp it way back here. What do we do with the big C-clamp?
The mouse has it. Love that seat clamp. Mighty Mouse.
That's not going to work.
What?
That's probably not going to work. Okay, grab me a smaller C-clamp.